بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We continue with our discussions from the beginning of guidance. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi's book which he has compiled. It's a conversation between him and his student. His student has come to Imam Ghazali and has requested, give me some advice. So Imam Ghazali, obviously, after spending so much time with this student, is writing a lengthy letter back to him. This letter was then compiled into a book form, which we've been covering over the past few weeks. And so we'll continue, inshallah. The discussion where we're at is interactions between people, how we should be with people, and how we as people should be with other individuals. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is going to start at the top, and he's going to make his way down, and he's going to address every single person. And so he starts by addressing the scholar, and he says, فَإِن كُنْتَ عَالِمًا, if you are a scholar. Now, something very important for us to understand, what does it mean by scholar? Aliman is somebody who Allah has given knowledge of this religion to. Every single one of us has knowledge regarding this religion. Every single one of us, in some capacity, will be teaching somebody else, whether it's a non-Muslim at work, whether it's our family members, whether it's our children. And so these qualities, although Imam Ghazali is specifically targeting this towards the scholar, the scholarly class, we should even try to bring these qualities into ourselves. فَأَدَبُ الْعَالِمِ, the scholar should have the following characteristics. Number one, سَعَةُ الْإِحْتِمَالِ, he needs to have shed loads of tolerance. A scholar needs to have lots and lots of tolerance. You see, a scholar will be faced with a range of people. Somebody will come to him asking him this, somebody will come to him asking him this, somebody will come with this, somebody will come with that. Somebody will say, can you do this instead of doing this? Somebody will say, do this instead of doing that. And to please every single person is impossible. You have to be tolerant. You have to be tolerant. You have to be, and Allah has made every single individual different. So this person has a different temperament, that person has a different temperament, that person has a different temperament. And so working with people of different temperaments requires so much tolerance that you have to listen to a little from here, a little from there. So quality number one, Imam Ghazali says, for a scholar, tolerance is very, very important. Number two, luzumul hilm, forbearance. Forbearance is this idea that you have restraint, self-control. That sometimes you'll be so something will take place in front of you which is wrong. And you might want to go absolutely just lose it. But you have to be forbearant. You have to have forbearance. You have to, with self-control and restraint, advise this individual that, look, maybe you could have done this differently. And sometimes the error of that individual is so immense, but you still have to approach this individual with a lot of control and a lot of self-restraint. Why? Because you're not getting angry at this person because of yourself. You're getting angry at this person because of something in regard to the religion. And so you then have to control yourself and present yourself in a way which is, it will be conducive for them to understand. Thereafter he says, وَالْجُلُوسُ بِالْهَيْبَةِ عَلَى سَمْتِ الْوَقَارِ مَعَ النَّاسِ. As for a scholar, when he spends time with the people, when he sits amongst the people, he's in the company of the people, he should hold a dignified and respectable disposition in the presence of people. He shouldn't show himself to be somebody who's just a random person or this or that. Yeah, you should be able, when you sit with this individual, you should know this is a respectable person. What comes from his mouth is respectable. The way he conducts himself with other people is dignified. Is dignified. He doesn't lower himself in a way that is unsuitable for the scholarly class. And so this individual should hold himself in a dignified and respectable way. That doesn't mean he should hold himself in a position which people can't interact with him. No. And Imam Ghazali will touch on this. Don't become so aloof that people can't come and talk to you and ask you questions and interact with you. But you shouldn't become so amongst the people that he's one of us, in the sense that, it doesn't matter, there's no boundaries. And so Imam Ghazali says that have some boundaries, have some limitations. Why? As a scholar, you sometimes have to say something. The same rule applies to parents. That there has to be boundaries between you and your child, where you are able to say to your child, no, this is wrong. There's a level of authority here. And the scholar has to uphold that level of authority within those people underneath him. Not because he is something special, but purely because he will show the individuals and the people what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Thereafter he says, وَتَرْكُ التَّكَبُّرِ عَلَى جَمِيعِ الْعِبَادِ. He says, do not be arrogant. And Ghazali says, do not be arrogant and proud and haughty with any individual. Doesn't matter who walks through those doors. Doesn't matter what their disposition is, what their clothing is, what their hairstyle is. وَتَرْكُ التَّكَبُّرِ عَلَى جَمِيعِ الْعِبَادِ. Every single person, treat them with love and affection. Do not become such a person that somebody walks in and they're not able to interact with you because he's a scholar, he's an alim. No. No, they should be able to come to you. The Prophet ﷺ was an individual. He was the greatest of scholars. Is there any scholar who is greater than the Prophet ﷺ? Well, however, the companions say he was the most approachable of people. The companions say that every companion who would sit in his gathering would say that we felt as though he would give us the most attention. And when he would talk to me, when he would address me, I felt as though I had a special relationship with him. Another companion would say the same thing. Every companion felt that my relationship with the Prophet ﷺ is something special. It's difficult to achieve this. For a scholar to achieve this, it takes time and effort. You have to put in time and spend time with the people and give affection to every single person. He says, do not show haughtiness and pride to anybody, illa ala dhalamati, except on those individuals who are oppressive. Except those individuals. Sometimes the scholar will have to be very clear. Sometimes the scholar, zajran lahum ani dhulm. And even that oppressive person, it's only as a deterrent from his oppression. That you're going to come and tell him that this is wrong. And you have to be harsh in those instances. In this instance, you don't lovingly and respectfully. Yes, there's a level. You build the level. You build up levels. But there comes a point where the scholar will have to be very firm. And you have to make that decision. That I have tried and I've tried and I've tried and I've tried to explain to this individual, but now he's causing oppression. Now he's causing problem in this earth. He's affecting this person and he's affecting this person. He's causing trauma to that individual. Now there needs to be some limit. زَجْرًا لَهُمْ عَنِ الظُّلْمِ وَإِيثَارُ التَّوَاضُعِ فِي الْمَحَافِلِ وَالْمَجَالِسِ. Humility. In all the gatherings that you attend as a scholar, you should be humble. You don't want people to stand in awe for you. Make space for you in your gatherings. The Prophet ﷺ, it's mentioned that when he would be sat amongst the Sahaba, you wouldn't know who the Prophet ﷺ was and who the companions were. And to the extent that when the Prophet ﷺ came to Madinatul Munawwara, the people who got a little confused between who the Prophet ﷺ was and Abu Bakr was. When the Prophet ﷺ migrated from Makkah to Mukarramah and he came to Madinah Munawwara, the people in Madinah Munawwara were waiting for the Prophet ﷺ. They didn't know who's Abu Bakr and who's the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was slightly senior to the Prophet ﷺ. He was slightly senior to the Prophet ﷺ, so they even actually thought that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was the Prophet of Allah. Yani, he wasn't somebody who would want people to stand in awe for him or make space for him or, he's Sheikh Sarif, Sheikh. No. Humble. وَتَرْكُ الْهَزْلِ وَالدُّعَابَةِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says that the scholar, he shouldn't jest and mock people. What this refers to is jest and mock people in an offensive way. Jest and mock people. Yes, scholars should joke with the people that sit around them, their students, etc. But mocking them in a way that will offend them, that will really, really hurt them, and mocking them with an intention to hurt them, this shouldn't happen. وَالرِّفْقُ بِالْمُتَعَلِّمِ. With the students, show them love and affection. And again, there's levels of students, right? There's those students who are new and still coming towards the religion. To them, they will show more love and affection. And to those who are part of your students, who are part of your close circle, to them, they won't be so loving and affection because they know that this individual, inshallah, is now connected to the religion. For them, I need to tell them what they need to hear. For them, what they need to hear is most important for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in a verse of the Quran, He says to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It is by the mercy of Allah, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, that you are lenient with the companions. Allah is saying that I made you loving and compassionate. And Allah says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظًا. O Muhammad, if you are فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ, if you were rude in the way you spoke, and you were harsh, غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ, your heart was harsh, لَنْ فَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. The companions would have disbanded you. Wallahi, listen to this verse. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that despite you being the greatest of all mankind, if you had been harsh with the companions, they would have left you. What about us mere humans who are just random people? What if we are harsh with the people we are trying to teach? What if we are rude in the way we speak? The people will definitely leave us. This is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going to Fir'aun. Can you see the comparison between the two? Musa, the greatest of his time, the greatest man to exist in his time, going to see Fir'aun, who is the worst of the worst in his time. Fir'aun is one of those individuals who you read the Quran and somebody who doesn't know Arabic comes across the word Fir'aun and they know that, this guy is this person. Even when Musa alayhi salam went to Fir'aun, he was told to speak qawlan layyina. Speak gently to him. Speak, subhanAllah, think about this, think about this. An enemy of Islam, an enemy of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, but when the Musa alayhi salam was told to advise him, qawlan layyina. When I am interacting as a teacher to my students, when I am interacting as a parent to my children, when I am interacting as a father to my son or my daughter, should I not have layyina, qawlan layyina? If Musa alayhi salam is told, the best of people, and when you go to the worst of people, this is how you should be, is my child the worst of people on this universe? Is the youngster who walks into the masjid without maybe something on his head, or is dressed in a way that I'm not comfortable with seeing? Should I be addressing him in that way? It comes in a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala, and the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّ الرِّفْقَ لَا يَكُونُ فِي شَيْءٍ إِلَّا زَانَهُ. That forbearance, love, affection will not be added to anything in this world except that it will adorn that thing. If you want to inform somebody of something and you add to that information love, compassion, affection, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, "Illa zanahu," it will beautify that thing. وَلَا يُنْزَعُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا شَانَهُ. You will not remove love and affection from anything except that it will make that thing defective. It will make that thing harmful. I'm here trying to cause benefit and call this person, advise this person, and do good for this person, but I am speaking to this person in a way which is harsh, in a way which is not beautiful, in a way which is not loving and affectionate. How do I expect that benefit to come through? And Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi is saying that وَالرِّفْقِ بِالْمُتَعَلِّمِ, show love and affection to the student. وَالتَّعَنِّي بِالْمُتَعَجْرِفِ, be patient with an uncultured questioner. Al-muta'ajrif is somebody whose questioning is uncultured. There were Bedouins in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They would walk into the company of the Prophet ﷺ, and they would just sit in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and they would ask questions. And he'd be in the middle of a discussion, a conversation, and say, I have a question and I want to ask a question now. And they just ask the question. And he's somebody who's muta'ajrif, uncultured. What that means is they're not aware of the culture. Uncultured, that's what it means. It's not something which is a derogatory term. Uncultured is basically means somebody who is not aware of the culture of the time. That in this certain gathering, there's a certain way, there's a certain etiquette and a certain protocol. In that type of gathering, there's a different type of etiquette. And so when an uncultured person comes in your gathering and they ask a question, don't be harsh with them. Do you not know how to ask a question to scholars? Do you not know how to behave in the masjid? I remember there was an incident that I was told regarding a youngster who his legs would hurt. So when he would sit in the masjid, he would stretch his legs out. It was in the month of Ramadan. And he would stretch his legs out. And an elder must have walked in whilst the lecture was taking place. And the elders said to him, La hawla, astaghfirullah. How can you sit like this in a lecture of scholars taking place? How can you sit like this? So that individual must have become shy and embarrassed. So he sat properly. After a little while, his legs started hurting again. So he stretched them out again. That individual walked out, the elderly person. When he came back in, elderly person goes, La hawla, he's still like this, and he's still ajib. So then the scholar that was sat there, he narrated this incident to me. He goes to me that I explained to that individual that this person has come to the masjid, and you push people away from the masjid like this. People will not come back to the masjid like this. We should show love and affection. And so they're not doing it out of disrespect. This is this point Imam Ghazali is making. They're not doing it out of disrespect. If they were doing it out of disrespect, they wouldn't have been sat in the masjid. They wouldn't have come to the mosque. They are doing it because they are unaware, they are uncultured. They don't sit the way we do constantly. And so when they come and they have to sit on the floor for an hour and a half, 2 hours, how are they going to sit in a certain way? Their legs start hurting. They've been sitting on chairs their whole life. So they start stretching their legs, they'll start doing this. Expect that. That's normal. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, be forbearing with an uncultured questioner. SubhanAllah, there's this one hadith, and I always narrate this, and it amazes me every single time. The Prophet ﷺ, he sat with the companions. He sat with the companions. Can you imagine? And just for a moment, just think about this scenario. I mean, the greatest scholar, imagine the greatest scholar that comes to your mind. He sat. How will people sit in front of him? How will people humble themselves before him and take notes and listen attentively and this and that? The Prophet ﷺ, the greatest Imam ever to exist in this universe, he sat with the companions. And a companion comes and sits in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, give me permission to perform adultery. And I narrate this hadith a number of times, and every time you just think, subhanallah, give me permission to perform adultery. And can you imagine going to any scholar today in private and saying to them, can I have permission to commit adultery? In front of the companions. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? Do you know who I am? No, he doesn't say that. Does he say, La hawla wa la quwwata? What kind of a believer? No, he doesn't say that. The Prophet ﷺ interacts with this individual. He doesn't lose his control. He understands that this person is sincere in his question. If he wasn't sincere, why would he be here? Did the Prophet ﷺ know it's haram? Get out, astaghfirullah. No, the Prophet ﷺ said to him that how would you like it if somebody did that act with your mother? How would you like it if somebody did that act with your family member, your sister or this or that or your daughter? The Prophet ﷺ gave him perspective. The Prophet ﷺ gave him understanding. Do you not understand that if you want to do this action, whoever you do this action to is the daughter of somebody else, could be the mother of somebody else, could be the sister of somebody else? How would, and empathize, sympathize, put yourself in that person's shoes. How would you like it if somebody did to your mother, your sister, your daughter? Immediately he understood. Immediately he understood and he left. The Prophet also made dua for this individual that Allah grant him purity, and he left, understanding what the Prophet also was trying to say. Sometimes people will come and they will ask uncultured questions. I asked Imam Khubayb just before delivering this, whilst I was preparing it, I said to him, what's the most uncultured question you've been asked? And wallahi, the question that he was asked, I can't say it here. I honestly can't say it here. And it's one of those questions that you hear and you think, Ajib, somebody had the audacity to ask. But then you think to yourself, that was their sincerity. They wanted to learn about the religion. They thought to themselves, doesn't matter who says what. I want to learn what my religion is saying. I have to ask this question. And so Imam Ghazali says that with people who come and ask questions and they're uncultured, don't push them away. Don't show hatred to them. Be patient with them. وَإِصْلَاحُ الْبَلِيدِ بِحُسْنِ الْإِرْشَادِ. Somebody who asks a question, but the individual who's asking the question is dull. He's dull-witted. Imam Ghazali is saying, Al-Balid, he's dull-witted. He's not very sharp. He's asking a question, correct him with wisdom. What does this mean? Sometimes somebody will ask you a question. Sometimes they'll come to a scholar and they'll ask a question, and the scholar will say, you're asking the wrong question. The question you should be asking is this. And so it's not advisable for a scholar as well to answer every single question that's presented. For him, it's to understand what is the source of this issue. He's asking me this question, where is he coming from? For the scholar, it's important to appreciate that, oh, he's asking this question, but it seems that the issue is much deeper than that. I think I need to address this problem. And so correcting this individual, this questioner, with wisdom. That, no, let me explain to you the situation. And like that, you explain to this individual. وَتَرْكُ الْحَرَدِ عَلَيْهِ. Don't display anger and annoyance. You may become angry and annoyed for personal reasons, but hide that. Yes, for the sake of Allah, when somebody does something, then to display anger, then to display annoyance will be rewarding. Will be rewarding that you show that this is something incorrect. This is something incorrect. وَتَرْكُ الْأَنَفَةِ مِنْ قَوْلِ لَا أَدْرِي. This is for every single individual, scholar, non-scholar, every person. So many of us are involved in this. Wallahi, so many of us are involved. Do not be so proud in your life that you are unable to say the words, La adri, I don't know. Don't be so proud that somebody asks you a question, you don't know the answer, and you're too proud to say, I don't know. The Prophet ﷺ himself has had to say, I don't know. When the companions, the people came, the Jewish community came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they said to the Prophet ﷺ, that, O Prophet of Allah, tell us about the ruh. Tell us about this. Tell us about they asked certain questions. He said, this knowledge is with my Lord. And I don't know this knowledge. This is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't have knowledge of this. He had to make ruju', he had to turn to Allah for his responses. For the scholars, it's the same. For the student, it's the same. For every single one of us, when somebody asks us, and so many times you hear this, don't say, oh, well, it makes sense that it should be like this. What do you mean it makes sense? What do you mean? It makes sense to your intellect? And since when was your intellect the determining factor of what this religion is? Do not be proud and arrogant that you don't have the ability to say, La adri, I don't know. There are times when you'll have to say, La adri, I don't know. Allah knows best. But let me get back to you, inshallah. Let me look into it. Let me look into the matter, and I'll get back to you, inshallah. Or at this moment, I've studied this. I remember studying this. But at this moment, that hadith isn't in my mind. Let me get back to you, inshallah. To be able to say the words, La adri, I don't know, is a massive part of this religion. And for students especially, to be able to say, La adri. If you are saying, I don't know, then people will think that you know everything. Nobody will teach you. Nobody will want to teach you. And you should say, I don't know, until people teach you. Until people come to you and say, let me teach you. وَصَرْفُ الْهِمَّةِ إِلَى السَّائِلِ. When somebody asks a question, devote your entire attention towards them. This is, Ajib, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi feels the need to discuss these things, which some of us might think is commonsensical things, but for many of us, it's not common sense. Many of us don't apply these things. When we're talking to our children, when we're talking to family members, when we're talking to an individual on our mobile at the same time, and they're talking to us at the. Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear what you said. This sarful himmati ila sa'i. Devote your entire attention to somebody asking the question. And not only turn your attention, وَتَفَهُّمُ سُؤَالِهِ. Genuinely try and understand the question. Make an attempt to understand what they're trying to say. Don't just, he's asking a question, yeah, sorry, I didn't understand your question. Sorry, yeah, doesn't matter, what? No. Make an attempt to understand the individual's question, because you can only answer the question with genuineness if you're listening genuinely to this individual. وَقُبُولُ الْحُجَّةِ قَبُولُ الْحُجَّةِ. If you're in a discussion with somebody and they provide proofs to you, accept those proofs. Accept those proofs. Don't be there going, no, I don't want to hear. Shh, no, I don't. So many of us are involved in this. So many of us are involved in this. We'll be in conversation, and not just scholars. This is advice is given to scholars because scholars have to have. But so many of us, when we're having a conversation, a discussion, and you say to somebody, "Go and explain this. Explain this." He's about to explain. No, go and explain it. Are you gonna let me explain it or not? No, go on, explain it. Then go on. See, you don't have. Give the person a chance. Listen to people and interact with people in a humane way. That's what Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying. وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لِلْحَقِّ. Every single one of us needs to learn this one. وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لِلْحَقِّ. Submit to the truth. As bitter as that pill the truth might be, submit to the truth. If you are wrong and the truth comes before you, put your hands up and say, I made a mistake. Wallahi, it will not decrease you as an individual, it will increase you as an individual. People will know that turn to this person. Even when he is wrong, he accepts that he is wrong. People will see you bigger than what you might think. That, oh, no, people will say, look, oh, he got it wrong, he got this. Accept the truth. Submit to al-inqiyad in Arabic means humble yourself, lower yourself to the truth. No matter, because when the truth comes, it's not accepting so much, it's humbling yourself. It's you saying, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. This is the truth. Whether that be with your children, whether that be with your students, whoever that is. Parents, it's extremely difficult when the child is right and you are wrong. And for you to now have to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Do it. The child will learn a very important lesson, that my parents are willing to humble themselves for the truth. It will make them truthful individuals. Lead by example, inshallah. Teachers, scholars, everybody, many teachers have this issue. They may say something wrong, a student corrects them, and they're unable to tolerate this. It's ajib, yani, you make a mistake and somebody corrects you, you should, jazakallahu khairan. You know, the students of hadith, when they narrate hadith, wallahi, it's so beautiful. When you are reading hadith to your teacher and you make a mistake and the teacher corrects you, the formality is you should make dua for that teacher immediately at that moment. So for example, you're reading the hadith, so وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لِلْحَقِّ وَالرُّجُوعِ, I made a mistake, for example. The teacher will correct it. You'll say, Barakallahu fikum, and carry on the hadith. Or Jazakumullahu khairah, or Waffaqakumullah, or Tabarakallah. You'll make some sort of dua. Even on mic, thousands of people listening, you'll see this. When they're narrating a hadith, and they're reading fast, وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لِلْحَقِّ وَالرُّجُوعِ إِلَيْهِ عِنْدَ الْحَفْوَةِ, you make a mistake, the teacher corrects it. You say, Allah yubarik fikum, وَمَنْعُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ مِنْ كُلِّ, like that. But when somebody corrects your mistake, thank them. And if it wasn't for you, I would have made a mistake. I would have been held accountable in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People correcting our mistakes. And let's assume they have an agenda against you. Even if they have an agenda against you, don't say that, no, he has an agenda. Ask yourself, step back for a moment and say, is what he is saying true or not? If this was said to me by my best friend, would I take this differently or not? You have to do this. Step back. لا تنظر إلى من قال انظر إلى ما قال. Don't look at who is saying it. Look at what is being said. Look at the statement. It could be coming from somebody you've had an argument with, that you hate this person. It could be coming from your biggest enemy. It could be coming from somebody that you think, no, this person definitely has an agenda against me. But listen to what is being said. If what is being said is correct, accept it as the truth. Accept it as the truth. Do not judge the truth by people. Judge truth by the statement. وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لِلْحَقِّ. And Imam Ghazali says, not only humble yourself for the truth, وَالرُّجُوعُ إِلَيْهِ عِنْدَ الْحَفْوَةِ. عِنْدَ الْحَفْوَةِ. When you realize you are wrong, return to the truth. Return to the truth. That's the best approach. Do not be arrogant and sit there saying, no, 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 it doesn't matter. How will I show face? No, return to the truth. وَمَنْعُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ مِنْ كُلِّ عِلْمٍ يَضُرُّهُ. This is for the teacher, and the advice that a teacher will have to give to the student. مَنْعُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ مِنْ كُلِّ عِلْمٍ يَضُرُّهُ. Prevent the student from studying those things which are harmful for him. There are certain knowledges, certain sciences that are harmful for a student. And at that stage, a student might not understand. For example, the student might want to get into studying debates and arguments and this and that. And the teacher will say, this is not the time for you to do that. Study this, it will be much more productive for you. And the student will think, why is the teacher telling me not to study this? Is he taking me away from the religion? Shaitan will put these thoughts in a person's head. Man'ul muta'allim, it's the responsibility of the teacher to say, prioritize your studies. This is harmful for you at this stage. And there are times when I've had to say to individuals, I don't want you to attend this lecture. I want you to revise for your exams. You can catch this lecture up later on. You can get it online later on. There are times when a person has missed so much time with his family or with his wife or with his partner, and you have to say to this individual that, look, it seems to you and you think that attending this lecture is more beneficial for you to uphold this relationship, and to go on this occasion with your wife or your partner, your husband, is more important for you for the relationship. You can catch this up online, inshallah. A marriage or something like this is taking place. It's a very close family member and you want to attend the lecture. Sometimes you have to make that decision. And I can catch the lecture in this other way. The scholar has to understand each scenario and tell the student that this is more beneficial for you at this stage. Focus on this. وَزَجْرُهُ عَنْ أَن يُرِيدَ بِالْعِلْمِ النَّافِعِ غَيْرَ وَجْهِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. The scholar should very firmly rebuke the individual who's seeking beneficial knowledge for other than the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there is a student and you see them studying and you perceive that maybe this person is studying for something other than the sake of Allah, rebuke them. Don't hesitate. It's for their own benefit. That doesn't mean you rebuke them and shout at them even if you don't know. You give advice. You give advice that every single and make it generic. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when something would happen in the community, he would stand on the minbar, on the pulpit, and he would say, why is it that I'm hearing the people saying kada wa kada, that they're saying this and they're saying that? Let's not do this. So the Prophet wouldn't say that, hey, why did you do this? No, no, no. Why is it that the people are doing this? Why is it that I'm hearing some of the people doing this? In the classroom, the teacher should say, and if there is somebody who's studying for the sake of other than Allah, here's the harms of this for this individual. And like that, keep it generic. But the teacher has to make sure that if he has this, if he sees this, he comments. وَسَدُّ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ عَنْ أَن يَشْتَغِلَ بِفَرْضِ الْكِفَايَةِ قَبْلَ الْفَرَاغِ مِنْ فَرْضِ الْعَيْنِ. That the teacher should stop the student أن يشتغل بفرض الكفاية, that he starts busying himself in the communal responsibilities before he has completed his personal responsibilities. Yani he has to pray his 5 times salah. Instead of praying his 5 times salah, he's out there trying to give charity to this person and pull this person in. No, no. Imam Ghazali is not saying don't do that. Imam Ghazali is saying that teach the students to prioritize. Fardul Ain, your responsibilities, those things which are incumbent on you, fulfill them first. Your personal responsibilities, do them first. Thereafter, the public, the communal, all of these other things. وَفَرْضُ عَيْنِهِ, and Imam Ghazali says, and I'm not going to leave it to your imagination what's compulsory for you. Let me tell you what is compulsory for you. Before you start doing this, and before you're doing outreach, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, what is necessary for you? وَفَرْضُ عَيْنِهِ, the responsibility for him. إِصْلَاحُ ظَاهِرِهِ, that he purify his external. وَبَاطِنِهِ, and his internal. بِالتَّقْوَى, with the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My heart should at every single moment be aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants certain things from me. My body, the way I am moving my body, what I'm doing with my hands, with my tongue, with my eyes, every single part, I should be aware that my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants X, Y, and Z from me. How should I do this? That is the bare minimum. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, if your heart is inclining towards you towards sin, and if your body is inclining you towards sin, and you are not making an effort to fix that, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says you're making a big mistake. Now the question comes, somebody might ask the question that look, are you saying that I shouldn't help in all of these charitable causes until I have perfected myself? Nobody said that. Nobody said that. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah, all he's saying is make sure that you are making some effort to fix those issues within you. At the same time, you then work on the things outside. You do your charitable work, you do this, you do that. But make sure it's not only the charitable work you're relying on. Do all those extra things, benefit the community, benefit mankind. At the same time, make sure that you're not forgetting yourself. A very basic example, there's a fire inside your own home. Don't go and start getting buckets of water from your house and pouring it on the neighbor's house where there's a fire. Worry about yourself first. Yes, if there's enough facility for you to at the same time work on both at the same time. Work on both at the same time. وَمُؤَاخَذَتُهُ نَفْسَهُ أَوَّلًا بِالتَّقْوَى. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, as a student, as a scholar, start with yourself. Bring taqwa within yourself. Bring taqwa within yourself. I should be focusing on bringing taqwa within myself. You should be focusing on bringing taqwa within yourselves. What is taqwa? Very simply, taqwa is this word we hear over and over again. It's a very simple definition of taqwa. I fulfill the commands of Allah and I refrain from the prohibitions of Allah. That's all it is. That's all it is. And if I do this, how easy is it? There's a few number of things I need to do with my eyes, a few number of things I need to do with my ears, my tongue, and my daily 5 times salah. Don't hurt anybody's feelings. Khalas, that's it really. There's nothing more than that. Taqwa, that's taqwa. لِيَقْتَدِيَ الْمُتَعَلِّمُ أَوَّلًا بِأَعْمَالِهِ. That each individual person should lead first and foremost with their action. وَيَسْتَفِيدَ ثَانِيًا مِنْ أَقْوَالِهِ. Thereafter people will benefit from their statements. Let your actions speak louder than your words, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says. As a scholar, as a parent, whoever you are, whatever position of authority you have in terms of knowledge, let your actions deliver first. Thereafter let your words come and give fortification to those actions of yours. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah ends the discussion for the scholar there, and now he comes to the student. And he gives advice to the student. He says, وَإِن كُنْتَ مُتَعَلِّمًا. Every single one of us is a student. Every single one of us is a teacher. Every single one of us is somebody senior. And if you don't have a teacher, look for a teacher. Find a teacher. There should not be an individual on this earth who doesn't have a teacher who they are seeking Islamic knowledge from. No matter what age this individual is, no matter what status in terms of knowledge they are. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Upon every knowledgeable person, Allah says, there is a more knowledgeable person. I should not ever suffice and sit on my laurels and think, I have studied what I need to study. I should be a student at all times. Every one of us should be a student at all times. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, وَإِن كُنْتَ مُتَعَلِّمًا. If you are a student, فَأَدَبُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ مَعَ الْعَالِمِ. First, let's talk about how a student should be with their teacher. Imam Ghazali says, أَن يَبْدَأَهُ بِالتَّحِيَّةِ وَالسَّلَامِ. The student should try and give the salam first. When you see the teacher, they should hasten to go to the teacher, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you will find that the teacher will also hasten to give the salam first, because it comes in a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the person, al-badi'u bis-salam, bari'un min al-kibr, the person who starts the salam, who initiates the assalamu alaikum, they are free from kibr and arrogance. They are free from kibr and arrogance. The scholars mention that by giving salam first and by giving it excessively, Allah cleans a person's heart from arrogance and pride. أَيَّبْدَأَهُ بِالتَّحِيَّةِ وَالسَّلَامِ. And Ghazali says, go to your student, when you approach your teacher, this is for the student, when you approach your teacher, start with salam. Start with salam. Why? It will purify your heart and humble you. And to seek knowledge, humility is important. You have to lower yourself to the system. School, college, wherever you are, you have to humble yourself to the process. You can go to the most expensive university in the world, the most expensive private school in the world. Don't apply yourself to the system, you will fail. And you can go to the most rundown school in the world, apply yourself to the system, and you will come out with the best of grades. And Ghazali is saying that when you come to the teacher, there is a system. Lower yourself. وَأَيُّقِلَّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ الْكَلَامِ. Limit what you say in front of the teacher. Limit what you say in front of the teacher. You should control your tongue in front of the teacher. Let the teacher speak. Let the teacher speak. Now this means that what type of teacher are we talking about? When you're going to benefit from somebody, limit what you have to say. Don't speak excessively when you don't need to speak. وَلَا يَتَكَلَّمَ مَا لَمْ يَسْأَلْهُ أُسْتَاذُهُ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, don't start talking about random things, unnecessary things. Speak about those things which are relevant to the discussion. That's what Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying. When a conversation is taking place and a hadith is being discussed, ask questions relevant to that hadith. Don't bring a random question out of nowhere. That's nothing to do with anything. Because everybody's train of thought is on a certain discussion. Push the thought on this matter. Push the thought on this matter. وَلَا يَتَكَلَّمْ مَا لَمْ يَسْأَلُهُ أُسْتَاذُهُ. If the teacher's talking about something else, don't come and discuss something else and ask a different question and take the topic somewhere else. وَلَا يَسْأَلَ. Obviously, if it's a Q&A, it's different. If it's general Q&A. وَلَا يَسْأَلَ مَا لَمْ يَسْتَأْذِنْ أَوَّلًا. وَلَا يَسْأَلْ مَا لَمْ يَسْتَأْذِنْ أَوَّلًا. Seek permission before asking a question. Seek permission before asking a question. In a lecture, it's different. And a lecture is different. Generally, the scholars will give permission that you can ask questions. But this is when I'll give you an example. The amount of times when, for example, I'll be sat in the office and I know that I have to start teaching at 6:30. 6:30 I have a class. And Maghrib Salah will finish at 6:05. 6:05 I'll go into the office. 6:15, 6:20, 6:25, somebody will knock on the door in the office and they'll come and ask a question. And they won't even ask, can I ask a question? They'll sit down and say, Mufti Sahib, I have this issue, and they'll start narrating this entire incident. This happened, and this happened, and this happened. I'm looking at the time, saying, I don't want to interrupt with this person. How do I say to this person, please come back? The problem is people are so... if you say something like this, they'll get offended. That, oh, look, he's not... How do you say to somebody? When you go to somebody who's a scholar, a student, etc., ask them, please, do you have time? Can I ask a question? And they'll say to you, they might say to you, that, how long do you need? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? They're not saying it because they don't want to give you time. They're saying it because there's other responsibilities they might have. They might have other responsibilities. وَلَا يَسْأَلُ مَا لَمْ يَسْتَأْذِنْ أَوَّلًا. Seek permission to ask a question first. Seek permission. And there's context. In a classroom, stick your hand up and ask a question, no issue. It depends on each individual, each scenario. But in general case scenarios, ask permission that, can I ask a question, please? Or when you call somebody, don't just start off the discussion by saying this, that, and then go into the whole entire mas'ala. Basically, there was this person who passed away. He has a grandfather, he has an uncle, he has 2 sisters, he has this, he has that, he has that. But the problem is, the complication is, he left this for this person and she left this for that person. First of all, the scholar isn't even listening. He's not even writing anything down. You've not told him what can I ask a question? It's regarding inheritance. I'll need about 10 minutes of your time to explain it all. And is that okay with you? Oh, you don't have time right now? When can I call you back? When's a good time? When's a suitable time? Arrange this. This is normal principles. This is basic adab. Not just for scholars, for everybody in our life. When you call somebody and it's a lengthy phone call, even non-Muslims have this protocol. When you call somebody, you'll say, are you sitting down? If you're about to give them some news, which is, are you sat down? Sit down. Just in case the news is so shocking that they'll fall or they'll faint, which rarely happens, but they'll say that, are you sat down? I have some serious news to tell you. We should also be like this. Muslims should lead in these things. Muslims, a little tangent, I don't know if we won't go off on it, but no, we might. Muslims should be considerate of the people around them. Muslims should be the most considerate of people. When it's a time of everybody going hectic and everybody going crazy and everybody losing their senses, Muslims should be the ones who should take the lead and say, this is how a Muslim should be. You don't have this, let me share with you. You don't have this, let me share with you. What do you need? I have X amount of this, let me give you this. I won't be needing this, let me give you this. Wait, who gives rizq? Do we forget as Muslims who gives rizq? Have you forgotten who Raziq is? Allahu Raziqun. Allah is the giver of rizq. Allah is the giver of sustenance. وَمَا دُونَ اللَّهِ مَرْزُوقٌ. Everything other than Allah is given rizq from Allah. This is what we need to understand, that Allah is the giver of sustenance. And Allah will give barakah in your sustenance, inshallah. Khair. That was a side topic. وَلَا يَسْأَلَ مَا لَمْ يَسْتَأْذِنْ أَوَّلًا وَلَا يَقُولُ فِي مُعَارَضَةِ قَوْلِهِ قَالَ فُلَانٌ بِخِلَافِ مَا قُلْتُ. When you are sat with the scholars and you are sat with the scholar, don't say to the scholar, hey, but somebody else said this. It's opposite to what you said. There's a way of saying it. Imam Ghazali is saying there's a way of saying it. Yes, you present it like this. Sheikh, I heard somebody has this opinion. What's your thoughts in this regard? And it's how you word things. The majority of disagreements that take place in the home can be fixed if we fix the way we approach the questions. If it can be fixed the way we say things. It's not about what we said always, it's about how we said it. And that's how most of the conversations go. You say, well, what did I say wrong? It's not what you said, it's how you said it. It's how you said it. قَالَ فُلَانٌ بِخِلَافِ مَا قُلْتَ. Don't go and say, hey, but that's wrong. This person said this. No. Sheikh, I heard somebody say this. What's your thoughts in this regard? Or Sheikh, what if somebody was to say this to us? How would we respond to that individual? Present the question in a way which is respectful. Present the question in a way which is not demeaning to the teacher. وَلَا يُسَارَ جَلِيسَهُ فِي مَجْلِسِهِ. Students, do not whisper when you are sat in his gathering. When the teacher is teaching you, you're sat in his lecture, you're sat in his Arabic class. Don't sit there whispering with each other. Don't be little children. وَلَا يَلْتَفِتَ إِلَى الْجَوَانِبِ. Don't look left and right. You know, so some people, it's like, they won't say anything, but they'll be looking here, they'll be looking there, they'll be looking around and all of these things. Focus on what's being said. بَلْ يَجْلِسْ مُتَأَدِّبًا. Sit with respect. مُطْرِقًا. Your eyes focused. كَأَنَّهُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. As though you are in prayer. as though you are in prayer. Why? In prayer, you are connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the classroom, you are learning how to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Show that respect, that Allah, I am here to study, I am here to learn. Your zeal and your talab and your seeking knowledge with zealousness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you so much. Allah will give you so much. I'll narrate you an incident, an amazing incident. One of the teachers, or one of the students of Malik, Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, Malik ibn Anas, his name was Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, a great scholar of Islamic history, a student of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi. Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi was once teaching, and he was teaching inside his house. He was teaching hadith. When he was teaching hadith, فَمَرَّ عَلَى بَابِ مَالِكَ الْفِي, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi had traveled, according to some scholars, from Andalus, from Spain. And so he was sat in front of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi in Madinatul Munawwara, ala babi Malik al-Fil. An elephant passed by the door of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi. Elephants were not common in Arabia. Elephants were not common. And so if an elephant passed by, it was something worth seeing. You will see it once in your life. You can't go on Google and see what an elephant is in the time of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi. You've heard about it. Can you imagine? Just think about it, why it's so fascinating. You've heard people telling you of an animal. And this animal is giant. It's probably as high as 6 humans. People exaggerate when they're going to narrate it and it has ears, they're flapping, and it has a trunk. What do you mean trunk? How would you even define a trunk? How are you going to explain to somebody what a trunk is? So you say, well, it has a nose, but the nose is so big and it moves it around like this, and you're like, what are you talking about? What is this animal? And it walks on its hooves and it doof, doof, narrating this incident. Imagine hearing an elephant. And now you're sat in this hadith lecture, and outside you hear everybody shouting and screaming, hey, there's an elephant, al-fil, al-fil, and everybody's going excited and everything. Every single student sat with Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi, left quickly. فَخَرَجَ كُلُّ مَنْ كَانَ فِي مَجْلِسِهِ لِرُؤْيَةِ الْفِيلِ, to go and see this elephant. Siwa Yahya ibn Yahya. Everybody left except Yahya bin Yahya. He remained sitting in front of the teacher. فَلَمْ يَقُمْ. He didn't stand, he didn't move, he didn't shift. وَلَمْ يَلْتَفِتْ. He didn't look left and right. فَأَعْجَبَ بِهِ Malik. Imam Malik rahmatullah was astonished. وَسَأَلَهُ مَنْ أَنْتَ. Who are you? وَأَيْنَ بَلَدُكَ. Where are you from? And he started getting an introduction with him. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَزَلْ بَعْدَ مُكْرِمًا لَهُ. Thereafter, Imam Malik rahmatullah would always show love and affection and respect to this Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. In lectures, etc., he would always show him a level of veneration and respect. This is a proper student of knowledge. Proper student of knowledge. Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi was probably thinking, I didn't come from Spain to see an elephant. I came from Spain to study knowledge. That's how a student should be. Sat in front of the scholar, ready to learn, ready to digest, ready to bring practice on everything that he is taught. فَلْيَجْلِسْ مُتَأَدِّمًا مُطْرِقًا كَأَنَّهُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ, as though you are in salah, sit with respect. وَلَا يُكْثِرَ عَلَيْهِ عِنْدَ مَلَالِهِ. When the teacher is tired, don't pester them with excessive questions. You have to understand the mindset of the teacher. If you ask them questions at the wrong time, you won't get the answer you might want. And that doesn't mean that they'll change the answer if they're tired, if they're not tired. It's saying that they might give you an angle or a perspective which you didn't think of, which they might have not have thought of when they are engaging their mind. Don't come to them with a question when they are tired. Again, it comes down to ask them, is this a good time? Is this a good time? Because scholars, wallahi, I've seen this with my own eyes with senior scholars. They are ashamed to say to somebody, I don't have time right now. They feel it as a responsibility that no matter who comes, when they come, they try and address in some way as best as they can. And so scholars will very rarely say, is this the time to ask a question? You know, with every other department, you will wait and get an appointment and this and that. You go to the doctors, you go to an accountant, you go to a lawyer, try and walk in and say, I'd like to make an appointment. We have an appointment tomorrow. We have an appointment in 2 weeks' time. What are you going to say? Do you have nothing earlier? No, we have nothing earlier, 2 weeks' time. What are you going to say? I need to see him now. What kind of doctors are you? No, now. Hey, they have a list of people that you see. Same with scholars. Have that decorum to ask them. Is this a good time to ask the question? وَإِذَا قَامَ قَامَ لَهُ. When they stand with them. Stand with them. The scholars have, Ghazali indicating to a number of things. First of all, when a scholar stands up, out of respect, stand up for them. Now, listen. It depends on each individual. Certain scholars don't like this. For them, you shouldn't do this. For them, again, it's not about what you want. When you listen to this carefully, showing respect to parents, family members, teachers is not about making yourself feel good. It's about making them feel good. Benefiting the parents is making them feel good, not making yourself feel good. وَإِذَا قَامَ, if they stand up and they don't want people to stand up and stand, when they walk in and everybody stands up and says, no, no, sit down, sit down. If they don't like that, don't do that. That's respect for them. That's respect for them. وَإِذَا قَامَ قَامَ. But Imam Ghazali is saying, whatever the understanding of respect is in that time, show respect to them. وَلَا يَتْبَعَهُ بِكَلَامِهِ وَسُؤَالِ. This is for your own teacher, the one that you are benefiting from. وَلَا يَتْبَعَهُ بِكَلَامِهِ وَسُؤَالِهِ. When he's en route somewhere, don't pester him and follow him and say, can I ask a question? Let him sit down, let him get to his place. وَلَا يَسَلُ فِي طَرِيقِهِ إِلَّا أَن يَبْلُغَ مَنْزِلَهُ. Until he reaches his place, he sits down, then ask him a question. وَلَا يُسِيءِ الظَّنَّ بِهِ فِي أَفْعَالٍ ظَاهِرُهَا مُنْكَرَةٌ عِنْدَهُ. If you see something negative from this individual, from the external actions, مُنْكَرَةً عِنْدَهُ, then don't immediately have bad thoughts regarding them. Don't immediately have bad thoughts regarding them. Sometimes you might not understand why they've done this. Now, there's a very fine line between now this. Sometimes somebody will do something wrong and sinful and it's haram, and it's very clear and explicit that this person has done something wrong. In that instance, address that with the individual privately and say, I saw this from you. I thought this might have been a bit wrong or something like that. With respect, take them to the side and have a word with them. You might learn something. And there are instances where you speculate. You see them doing something. For example, I'll give you a beautiful example of this. The two sunnah of Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ would read the two sunnah of Fajr so fast, and Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha would say that I wouldn't know if he has read Surah Al-Fatiha or not. And imagine how fast that first raka'at must have been, that you don't know if he's read Surah Al-Fatiha or not. He would read Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah, but she said it was so fast I wouldn't know if he's read Surah Al-Fatiha. He spent the entire night in tahajjud. He spent the entire night worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If somebody was to see his two sunnah fajr, what might they say? Somebody who has no idea, what might they say? There's a scholar who prays two sunnah fajr in the morning. He comes to the masjid, prays his two sunnah, and he prays them fast. Somebody sat at the back watching, thinking, hey, look at this guy. He doesn't even know how to pray salah. Look how fast he's praying his salah. It might be something you don't know. Externally, you might see something in a scholar which looks munkaratan, which to you in your limited understanding will look as though he will, wallahi, I go as far as saying, for an individual to pray that two sunnah shorter is more rewarding than for them to pray it longer. Why? Because my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did this. The sunnah and the objective of this religion isn't to do what I want to do, it's to do what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. If Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam shortened a certain prayer, shorten that specific prayer. If he lengthened the prayer, lengthen that prayer. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make in his salah the first raka'at longer, the first unit of prayer longer, and the second unit of prayer shorter. Don't go out of your way in your arrogance to make the first unit long and the second unit even longer and say this is what piety is. Piety isn't what I deem as piety. Piety is what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. And so this is very, very important for us, that sometimes you might see something from a scholar externally, but what that scholar is doing is actually something which I am unaware of. Probe that. Ask them respectfully in private. And I saw this. They might say to you, I made a mistake. This was a fault on my part. Alhamdulillah, they accepted their mistake. For a scholar to say, I made a mistake, that's a good thing. They accepted their mistake, they've amended their ways, and you learned that, no, this is a mistake, this isn't something valid. فَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِأَسْرَارِهِ. He knows his secrets better than you do, Imam Ghazali says. You don't know why he might be doing what he's doing. There was an incident of a scholar, I think it was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was a leader of his time. He had one pair of clothing, and he would miss the salah of he would miss two salah every single month with jama'ah. So the people started questioning, why is he missing these salawat? When they probed, they found out that he uses these specific days to wash his clothes. He has no other clothes, so when he washes them and dries them, in that time he ends up missing the salah. And so that's why this happens. And you might not know the scenario. Somebody might be missing the fajr, or somebody might be. Husnul dhan. We'll make husnul dhan for every single person in the world, except for the scholar, except for the teacher. And why has he got this car? Why is he driving this car? Why has he been given this? حسن الظن. وَلْيَذْكُرْ عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ قَوْلَ مُوسَى لِلْخَضِرِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. Imam Ghazali reminds us of the incident of Musa alayhi salam and Khadir alayhi salatu wassalam. قَالَ أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. Musa is looking at Khadir, and Khadir is going out of his way, and he's breaking the ship. He's damaging the ship. And the incident was that Musa alayhi salam and Khadir wanted to cross over the river, There was no ships, no rivers, no boats. Somebody came and said, I'll take you for free. So as they were taking them for free, Khadir, when he gets to the other side, he pulls a plank of the boat out and he damages it, makes it water damaged. And Musa alayhi salam said, what's wrong with you, man? And he gave us a lift to the other side, and you're going to damage his ship, and now he's not going to be able to benefit from it. What's wrong with you? We were meant to give him money, and instead you damage his boat. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. You've done something absolutely strange. This is crazy. What he didn't know is why he did it, the intention. And when you study the story of Musa alayhi salam, you'll understand. وَكَوْنَهُ مُخْطِئًا فِي إِنْكَارِهِ اِعْتِمَادًا عَلَى الظَّاهِرِ. He says that Musa alayhi salam, a prophet, sufficed on what he saw externally, the zahir, and he made a mistake. Who are you to suffice on your external? Do you not think you might make a mistake? This is what Imam Ghazali, and look how deep he's showing us. Well, look what a beautiful lesson he's taken from this story. And if this entire lecture, you take nothing away from this entire lecture other than this one point, you've taken so much away. You've taken so much away. And Musa alayhi salam sufficed on the external knowledge that he had, and he made a mistake. He made a mukhti'an fi inkarihi. He made a slight slip up. Who are we to assume that we see the external and we might not make a mistake? It's for us to be very, very cautious. Then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah goes on to the relationship between the parent and the children, etc. We'll continue that from next week, inshallah. There's just one story which I heard from a very close scholar that I know, and I wanted to narrate this incident regarding the way the students would interact with the teachers and the love the people had for knowledge and the scholarly. Nadhr ibn Shumail, rahmatullah alayh, a great teacher of hadith. He's a great teacher of hadith. Nadhr ibn Shumail had 3,000 students that sit gathering in one go. And he, imagine what kind of a scholar he was. He was from Basra, and he was leaving from Basra and moving to Khurasan. Why? He was struggling with his daily sustenance. He couldn't support himself financially. And such a great scholar. And understand who Nadhr ibn Shumail is. He is the teacher of Imam Bukhari, rahmatullah alayhi. If it wasn't for Nadhr ibn Shumail, rahmatullah alayhi, we wouldn't have a book the likes of Sahih Bukhari today. And that's the kind of scholar he was. And his students were also just like him. They were extremely poor, unable to provide for him. They never had much money as well. And so Nadhr ibn Shumail rahmatullah alayhi was making this journey from Basra to Khurasan because he has these responsibilities for his wife, his children, upkeep of family. And so he thought, I have to leave. And so as he was leaving, he was saying farewell to his students. He gets to the boundary of Basra. And all 3,000 of his students came to see him off. And only when you have had a relationship with a teacher where they have put so much into your development will you appreciate this interaction they have. And they all had tears in their eyes, unable to depart, and this parting with their teacher was difficult for them. Because the efforts that the teacher puts into developing the student, assisting the student, making them a better individual at the expense of themselves, parents also are very similar, if not on a higher scale, with the children, which children many don't appreciate. And so these students were with the teacher and they were thinking, all of this benefit we've taken from this individual, now he's having to leave because of his financial strain and difficulty. So unable to part with their teacher. Imagine how much pain he was feeling. Why? Because teachers have expectations from their students. Teachers, when they put time into their students, have a hope and an aspiration that these students, inshallah, will develop and become bastions of this religion and benefit the ummah. So on his way out, he sat down. And they also sat down and he addressed them. And he said, look, if you guys are able to make an arrangement for me of a single kilogram of a vegetable-like, it's called lobia, a vegetable-like substance. On a daily basis, I just need 1 kilogram. I will stay behind. By the way, this lobia that he's referring to, it was the lowest quality of food in that time. Extremely cheap. Extremely cheap. I think just daily 1 kilogram of this. It's like a pea. It's like a vegetable. You rip it open and like pea, like the way peas fall out of a pod. It's similar to that, but it's not quite the same. What's he saying? 3,000. I just need you guys, any of you, or some of you, or all of you together, just provide me 1 kilogram. Subhanallah. Imagine how difficult his situation was, first of all, for this to have happened, that he doesn't even have this. What was the state of the poverty of the students sat in front of him? All 3,000 of them were incapable of coming together saying, we will take this responsibility for you. Subhanallah. Imagine what their situation was. Imagine what their situation was. But their objective is not this world, their objective is to serve the deen of Allah. So he said, I have to leave. He left Basra and he walked to Khurasan. And he gets to Khurasan with his family. And he was living in a place called Marwa. Marwa. The leader of that time was Mamun Rashid. Mamun Rashid was somebody who was very knowledgeable. And he was a leader who was close to the scholars. He had a lot of love to genuine scholarship. And so he would bring the scholars close to him. And he would show affection to them. He would send them gifts. And so often Ma'mun Rashid would sit in the company of Nadr ibn Shumail radiallahu ta'ala anhu, this great scholar, the teacher of Imam Bukhari. And they would discuss hadith. One day Ma'mun Rashid, the leader, was sat with Nadr ibn Shumail, the scholar. And Ma'mun, the leader, said, I want to narrate a hadith to you. Will you please hear it? So he's Nadr ibn Shumail, the muhaddith, the teacher of Bukhari, said, of course, I'll hear this hadith. So he narrated the hadith. Now, within this hadith, there was a word that can be pronounced in three ways. It can be pronounced sadad, it can be pronounced sudad, it can be pronounced sidad. The sin, it can either have a fatha, a zabar, it can have a dhamma, a pesh, or a kasra, a zir. It can be said sadad, sudad, or sidad. So Ma'mun, when Ma'mun Rashid, the leader, when he narrated the hadith, he said the word sadad with a fatha. He said sadad. So Nadr ibn Shumail, the muhaddith, the teacher of hadith, was sat there. And he said, Jazakallah for narrating the hadith. However, the narration that you have narrated, it has also reached me, but a different chain of narrators with a slight difference in the hadith. So Ma'mun said, oh really? Can you narrate the hadith to me? So Nadr ibn Shumail radiallahu ta'ala rahmatullah narrates this hadith. Instead of the word sadad, Ma'mun the leader said sadad, Nadr ibn Shumail the muhaddith said, used a different wording. So Ma'mun sits up and he says, so what are you saying? That I narrated the hadith incorrectly? Nadr ibn Shumail was a scholar and he knew that Ma'mun Rashid is somebody interested in knowledge and somebody who's very well learned. So Nadr ibn Shumail, the scholar, the muhaddith said to Ma'mun, the leader, I'm not saying you narrated it wrong, because I know you have a very strong memory. But it's possible somebody in the chain before you, somebody narrating it, made a mistake. The word in the hadith should be sadad and not sidad. So Ma'mun is now paying attention. He says, provide some proof. What's the proof of this? So Nadr ibn Shumail, he explains the context of the hadith, and the hadith is saying this, and based off what the Prophet ﷺ is trying to say, the word that the Prophet ﷺ is trying to convey, the meaning cannot be conveyed with the word sadad, it is conveyed with the word sidad. So Ma'mun agreed with him. But he said, can you prove to me that the word sadad has this meaning and the word sidad has this meaning? I agree with you, the context is this. But how do I know sadad is the wrong word and sidad is the correct word? Can you prove to me sidad has this meaning? So the muhaddith Nadr ibn Shumail said, of course I can. He read a poem to him. He said a poem, and in that poem it was the exact meaning that the narration was trying to bring. So let's summarize what's happened so far. Ma'mun, the leader, has narrated a hadith to Nadr ibn Shumail, and he used the word sadad. Nadr ibn Shumail corrects him and says it's sidad, and he proves it. That's all that's happened. One small error was rectified. One haraka, fatha to a kasra, sadad to sidad. This is the main point. Ma'mun requested paper. A piece of paper was brought to him, and he wrote a note on this piece of paper. He wrote something on it, and he gave this note to Nadr ibn Shumail, the muhaddith, and he said, take this letter and deliver it to Fadl ibn Sahal. Who's Fadl ibn Sahal? Who's this new person? He's the chief treasurer. So Ma'mun, the leader, has given this note to Nadr ibn Shumail, the muhaddith, and he said, take this note to the chief treasurer, Fadl ibn Sahal, and give it to him. So Nadr ibn Shumail, the muhaddith, goes and he takes the note and he delivers to Fadl. When Fadl reads the letter, it was written that Nadr ibn Shumail 50,000 ashrafiyah. Ashrafiyah was the currency of that time. 50,000 ashrafiyah for correcting one haraka. From fatha to kasra, 50,000 ashrafiyah. SubhanAllah, look at the value they had for knowledge. This was the value of knowledge, that you corrected one hadith today, you preserved one hadith today, the value of that is 50,000 ashrafiyah. This was their value for knowledge, not for teaching our children the religion, spending tireless hours and effort and this and not for correcting one haraka, 50,000 ashrafiyah. The story doesn't end there. What did the chief treasurer say? He said, this is a massive reward from the leader, Mamun Rashid. What's the reasoning? What's the story? He doesn't give money away like this. What's the reasoning for him to have written 50,000 Ashrafiyah for you? So Nadr ibn Shumayl informs him of the incident that this happened. He said a hadith. He said the word sadad. I corrected it to sidad. This is all that happened. The treasurer turns around and says, he gave you 50,000 out of happiness. Take a further 30,000 from me. SubhanAllah. 80,000 for correcting a single letter. Not a letter. Sorry, not even a letter. A haraka. A fatha to a kasra. Imagine the value they had for knowledge. Imagine the value they had for knowledge. Imagine the value they would have had for those individuals tirelessly trying to present the religion to them, trying to give them the religion. This is the effort that they went through. And this is the love they had for knowledge. And so this is first and foremost for me. And my teachers, my scholars, the people who have taught me, I should show them extreme love and affection. And the scholars around us, let's show them love and affection. And really, let's invest in our scholars. No, don't give them this. What I'm saying, invest in them, making them better individuals. I need professional development, better speakers. Make them better speakers. Invest in them to go on courses and to study. They will benefit us. We are investing in ourselves. We are investing in our own children, and they will benefit our communities. They will bring us benefit, inshallah. This is what Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is indicating towards, and this is what the story gives us. And let us connect. And so, inshallah, we continue with these discussions next week. Next week, inshallah, we'll be going through relationships. This is amazing. This is very important. That ahaduhuma an tatluba, when you're looking for a friend. Imam Ghazali says that, I'll just give you a brief kind of a trailer to whet your appetite of what he's going to say. Come across three types of people. Imma asdiqa, either this person is a friend, or imma ma'arif, who is an acquaintance, or imma majahil, or you don't know this individual. You don't know this individual. Then he breaks them down, and he breaks them down, and he breaks them down, and he goes, if you're going to make a friend, this is the kind of qualities you need to look for. Youngsters especially, that session is very important for you. What qualities should be in a friend? What should we look for in a friend? Imam Ghazali comes through some amazing things. And ma'arif, those people who you have acquaintances with, people you meet at work, etc. How should you behave with them? How should you behave with them? And not only those, in the majahil, those people you don't know, how should you behave with them? And there's a way to interact with them as well. You don't know an individual, doesn't mean they don't exist in your life. There's a way to interact with them. And so these interactions Imam Ghazali will talk about next week, inshallah. If there's any questions, we'll take a look on the YouTube. Any questions? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah speaks about the student's etiquette with his teacher, but what about his general etiquettes? Imam Ghazali speaks about the student's etiquette, his general etiquettes. I'm assuming the Quran is saying that over here, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah over here hasn't discussed the qualities that a student should have, but he has discussed what the qualities a scholar should have. He has discussed what qualities a scholar should have, and that should apply to the student. That a student should hold themselves to the highest standard. And so the way scholars, he should also interact in this way. He should also interact in this way. And this is how we should be. This is how we should be. And hold yourself to the highest standard. Others excuse others. If they don't hold themselves to the highest standard, make excuses for people. That maybe there's this wrong, or maybe there's this issue, or maybe there's that. But for yourself, don't make excuses. We'll make 101 excuses for ourselves. We'll never make excuses for other people. Make excuses for other people. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah, he has, by the way, in other places, and there's other books as well, Adabul Muta'allim, etc., that a student should have generally in their day-to-day life. And how should they be as a Muslim? And inshallah, we will have series on this, because one of the things lacking in the ummah today and amongst the people today, we're massively lacking this idea of akhlaq. How I should interact with people. And if the Prophet ﷺ mentions in the hadith, imagine how important akhlaq and character must be. If the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, the only reason I was sent, إِنَّمَا comes from hasr, the only reason, with my Allah, the way I interact with my family, the way I interact with friends, the way I interact with work people, the way I interact with non-Muslims, the way I interact with every single person. I have to show certain akhlaq to my Allah, I have to show certain akhlaq to the creation also. If we can do this, and if we can achieve this, that our lifestyle becomes something which is beautiful, then we have achieved something. Then we are human beings. Then we are what we define as Muslims. That's what a Muslim is hoping to achieve, to become a human being, to remove and to limit and to control these animalistic desires and qualities within us, and to control them and to use them in good, to become a good Muslim. That's our objective. That's why we are here. And so Imam Ghazali's etiquette for the scholar will apply for the student as well. For the student as well. However, there are much more etiquettes for the student which we can expand upon in another session, inshallah. If there's no more questions, then we'll end it there, inshallah. It doesn't seem there's any more questions. Lots of people saying hi. Hi back to them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yahya, you better be keeping up to date with your classes and stuff like that. We'll be testing you. Your test that you keep asking about is coming soon, inshallah. So the Takmila class. So the test is actually coming soon, inshallah. Khair, inshallah. Saifullah from Satan. Saifullah. Who's Saifullah? Yes, Saifullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Assalamu alaikum to all of you, inshallah. So we'll continue, inshallah, from next week. Also, we'll have a number of other sessions going on. So there's a question: will chicken cottage be delivered to our houses? I wanted to ask, so first of all, we'll do that one first. No, chicken cottage, unfortunately, will not be delivered to your house. But you can deliver the chicken cottage to us, inshallah, instead. I'm joking. Safer. It's best to be safe in these times. The question is, I wanted to ask, how should one behave when feeling uncomfortable when being around people who speak wrong? Look, this is a very important one. Let me get comfortable for this one. When you are around people who speak wrong, who do wrong, sometimes they are backbiting, etc. These are your friends sometimes. How do you say to this person that you don't want to be the odd one out, you don't want to be the guy who says, oh, no, he's just so pious and this and that. No. The way to do this is, there's a number of ways. Number one, look, you have to understand why you're doing it. Our objective as believers is our hereafter. That's the most important thing for us. And how can I preserve and make my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy? Every moment I should be thinking this. You know, when you are doing any action, you should be thinking, my Allah is watching me with so much love and affection. With so much love and affection. When you are sat with your friends and they are discussing something which is inappropriate, remind yourself that my Allah is watching me with so much love and affection. How can I allow this to happen? And he's watching me and this is happening. And if my parents were watching me, I wouldn't do this, and my Allah is watching me. So that's the first thing. When you now have this mindset, it will push you now to take action. I need to do something to make sure that I'm not displeasing my Allah. Each scenario is different. For youngsters, when you're sat amongst your friends, change the subject. Bring up something else. I heard about this. So they're doing riba, backbiting about somebody. Say, why are you guys always talking about this guy? You guys, it's as though you love this guy, man. You don't stop talking about him. Do you have something for this guy? Change it. And you turn it on them, they feel, no, man, I don't have anything against that individual, and they'll change the subject immediately. That's how we should do it. That you shouldn't be on the back foot. You should go on the offensive, and you're doing it for their benefit. If they are individuals who will be understanding, what does that mean? You're a teacher and your students say something, or you're a parent and your children say something, or you are somebody who's respected in that circle. You say, come on, we shouldn't say this. We're better than that. So bring that. There's different ways. It depends. And a lot of the times when you're interacting with people, you have to understand the hierarchical structure that's in place. If there's an elderly person in the masjid and I need to say something to them, and I need to say something to a youngster, I will approach them both differently. The youngster I might be close to and I'll be able to say, hey, where were you for Asr, man? I didn't see you. The elderly person, you say, hey, where were you for Asr? It's not going to work. Say, is everything okay? Is your health okay? I didn't see you in Asr Salah. There's a different way that you approach every single thing. We have to become wise. We have to become people who look and try and understand other people's feelings. And so there is a way a person, I'm not saying remain silent. No, never remain silent. But how you say it makes a big difference. How you say it makes a big difference. So the question was, I wanted to ask, how should one react, behave when feeling uncomfortable when being around people who speak wrong? And if you are incapable of saying something or doing something, stand up and walk off. Stand up and walk off. Do not ruin your hereafter just to keep a relationship of this world going. I promise you, if they are good friends and they are people who care for you, they themselves will stop. They will stop and they will say that, no, hey, listen, he doesn't like this stuff. No, let's not talk about it. And they will be talking about this stuff. You will come in that gathering and they'll stop talking about it. Why? Because, he's one of those people who he doesn't like these things. He doesn't like these things. And they'll be cautious around you, which is fine. At least they're not sinning. You've protected them from this sin. Next question. Assalamu alaikum and jazakallah khair for continuing. Oh, okay, we can't be okay. Jazakallah khair for your answer. How about if it occurs around people at work? Example, you hear your colleagues talking bad about somebody. At the bare minimum, you should think that thing and evil in your heart. If you are unable to stop them, if it's two non-Muslims that are talking and they're talking about this individual and you're unable to stop them, then at least think it an evil in your heart. Do istighfar, tawbah, seek forgiveness from Allah. That, oh Allah, I want no part in this. I want no part in this. I am not a part of this. I am here because I am compelled to be here. If you are unable to stop them, if you're unable to, in some way indicate to them and make them feel awkward, like just something like that, and they themselves will kind of change. If you're unable to do that, then inshallah, they themselves will kind of desist. But if you're incapable of doing that, at the bare minimum, think it an evil in your heart. Make tawbah to Allah, that Allah, you placed me in this situation. I have nothing to do with this. I want nothing to do with this. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please forgive me. I don't want a part of this. Next, Mufti, I need my chicken cottage. What can I do? Have I ever said no to anybody with chicken cottage? Everybody who comes here is welcome. I always say, whoever comes here, don't leave without eating. If you're not here, what can I do? Khair, inshallah. If there's no more questions, let's end it there, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit. Look, guys, the masajid are closed. It really, really is a challenging time for the ummah. It really is a challenging time for the ummah. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. We are in a very unique situation in our history. I was sat here yesterday and I contacted one of my teachers and I asked him for some advice. One of his advices, which was said, he gave a number of advices. One of his name is Sheikh Muawiyah. He's published a number of books, etc. He said, and ajib, you just think to yourself, the scholars, Allah gives them such wisdom, such depth of understanding. He said that, look at the silver lining. He said, what's the silver lining? He goes, there was amongst the houses in the community was filled with the dhikr of Allah. The masjid has closed. Now every house is filled with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has closed the masjid. Allah has closed the mosque. It wasn't me who closed it. It wasn't any of us who closed it. How can I close the house of Allah? If Allah wanted His house to remain open, every effort in the world could come and make its work. This house of Allah won't close. When Abraha and his army were going to destroy the Kaaba, they were going to destroy the Kaaba. And what had happened? Ajib incident. So Abraha is the leader in the time of the Quraysh, before the Prophet ﷺ was born. And they were coming with their animals, the elephants, to destroy the Kaaba. I think it was Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib, what they had done is they had stolen some of his camels. It was Abu Talib, one of these individuals. They had stolen some of his camels along the way. So Abu Talib comes to the people and he says, listen, you guys have stolen my camels. Give me my camels back. So Abraha laughed at him and said, you want your camels? I'm coming to destroy the house of Allah and you're worried about your camels? What did he say? Abu Talib said, that I am responsible for my camels, give me my camels. Allah is responsible for His house, He will take care of His own house. Subhanallah, what happened? Allah took care of His house. These doors have been closed because Allah wants them to close. Nobody compels Allah to do anything. Allah has chosen, let us make good out of this. Let us take benefit out of this. Let us make this a means of goodness. In our homes, let the dhikr of Allah emanate. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that in the heavens, Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ, Abdul Salam by saying he was Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather. Jazakallah. We mentioned that in the tafsir, if you remember. So he was Abdul Muttalib, not Abu Talib. So it was Abdul Muttalib who said, give me my camels back. Khair. Jazakallah khairan. Barakallah. So the incident, what was I going to say after this? I was going to say, is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the places of dhikr and the remembrance of Allah, they shine in the heavens the way the stars shine for us. So when we look at the stars, in London you don't get to see stars because there's so much pollution. Come up north, Preston and these places which are blessed, you get to see stars and these things. They do exist, So you look up at the stars, the way you see them from the heavens when they look down, the places of dhikr are lit up like that. Imagine right now how many houses are lit up with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is probably descending upon us in massive amounts. Don't become despondent. Don't become despondent. The masjid is closed, but your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can still be built. Connect. In your homes, establish dhikr, establish salah, do jama'ah, salah bil jama'ah. Let the father lead. You might not know Quran, you might not know the best Quran, lead inshallah. Let's benefit inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time and effort. May Allah bless you. PS, your laptop battery didn't scare you today. Yeah, because I had it on charge before.